Tell me some of the factors that could weigh on the stock this morning as it begins to trade.
One of the key things that we could see is there's a lot of supply coming out of this company that's being sold into the market today. So obviously we know about the $21.8 billion in the IPO, but one unique thing about this deal is that they are allowing a certain group of employees and insiders to also sell today. So there's no lockup agreement on those specific shares. So some people we talked to were a bit concerned about supply, but it looks like the actual allocation went to a few 25 different firms, 50% of the deal. So that's a pretty concentrated deal, meaning we could see some people buying in today that didn't get allocation.
Paul, I love you. You always have the most unusual takes on these companies. This has to be by far your most unusual take on Alibaba. I'm going to read for our audience what you wrote us about Alibaba. You said, quote, underpriced and quirky, a weird mix of GE and Chipotle, not really a tech company. What the heck do you mean, Paul?
It's like codes, I'm just sort of talking out into the outer space. No, so, specifically on the price, they could have easily priced considerably higher than this, just based on the demand. IPOs are a supply-demand thing as much as they are a business phenomenon. And the $68, by all accounts, the IPO was fully subscribed within a couple of days of the roadshow beginning, and yet we didn't really see that big of an expansion in terms of the size of the range. The $68 number kind of stuck there, and the quirky comes in because, it seems pretty clear that the reason why that 68 number stuck was because it has some cultural significance in China. It's just to do with, sort of wealth and prosperity. It's kind of a homophone for Chinese characters that mean that, and that's just bizarre, right? It harkens back to the Google IPO whenever they sold, 2.7 or 2,718,000 and so on in shares, because that was the base of the natural logarithm. That's just a crazy number as well. So this is a really quirky thing. And then in terms of the structure of the company, this is really what it is. This is a franchise company in a sense that creates this kind of, hermetically sealed, rolled experience of e-commerce, but does it in a structure very much similar to General Electric's. This is a divisional conglomerate in technology, a structure that's never really worked before. And the right analog is GE and Jack Welch, not, Jeff Bezos or Larry Page.
You mean the structure of the company is more like GE? The fact of the matter is it is a tech company, Paul, but you're just saying the structure, the internal structure of the company is more similar to a big conglomerate.
Yeah, but even saying it's a tech company, tech companies grow through product innovation, some kind of unusual take on a marketplace that allows you to grow quickly and maintain high margins. This company's not doing that. Its innovation is in how it's structured, not in the products it's created. There's absolutely nothing new here, and that's not a knock against the company. The newness comes from having organized it all under one gigantic shell, much like General Electric.
Leslie, the fact that, tell me about this whole, the fact that the NYSE has this company. They seem to have been beating NASDAQ as of late and getting these tech IPOs. How significant is this for the NYSE that they've got Alibaba?
This is a big deal for the NYSE. As you know, NASDAQ has historically been the home for tech stocks ever since it was created in 1971. The New York Stock Exchange didn't even list IPOs until the early 1980s. So the fact that now they have the biggest IPO, could be the biggest ever in the world, much less a tech company, is a huge deal. And I know that both companies lobbied very heavily to get the listing here. And at one point, they were even battling against the Hong Kong exchange when it looked like they might go there. So the fact that it's here today, they've definitely rolled out all the stops. You see orange everywhere, orange on the front of the New York Stock Exchange, tons of people down here. Everyone wants to get a look at this company.
They do. And, Paul, we were raising this issue earlier, which is whether, all this hype and enthusiasm around Alibaba, if that tells you that investors are more comfortable with Chinese companies, and in particular, some of the Chinese tech companies that have been very frothy.
I don't think they are. I think investors are comfortable with companies with 40+% margins and 80% share in the Chinese marketplace. That's the whole thesis here. That's what people are buying. And the fact that it's in China and that it's got this kind of very unusual structure from the General Electric analogy all the way over to these variable interest entities and other structures mostly goes by the wayside. What it is this enthusiasm for an incredible share of a very large marketplace, which is a great opener, but really doesn't tell us much about what's going to happen with this company in the future.
Leslie, tell me, what are some of the traders saying to you about Alibaba, and are they doing anything different there today for Alibaba that they haven't done for other companies listing there?
So one interesting thing that they're doing is a lot of people say the same thing as Paul's saying, that this is very much a growth story. And if people can see these capital gains that they get from Alibaba, if it's priced at a discount like it is and, poised to rise like some people believe it is, it doesn't really matter what kind of other risks are out there, of course, until it goes wrong. That's the thesis from a lot of traders that we've spoken to. Another thing that's going on here is you don't see a lot of people running around in orange jackets per se, like you've seen with other things. They're keeping it very understated here at the New York Stock Exchange today, which is interesting for a chairman of a company who opens his employee meetings wearing Lion King dress. So we're told that Jack Ma will not be ringing the opening bell in about 30 minutes. It's going to be customers of the platform. So we're seeing a U.S. farmer, a cherry farmer, an Olympian who sells bracelets. So it's a completely different day here on the NYSE.